Hey you guys, it's Claudia Beleza, the Fashionista, and I'm going to be embroidering the letter G. That's one of the many letters that I'm going to be embroidering on my channel for you guys. So be sure to check out those other videos and let's get right into it. I have double stranded my needle and I have knotted one end of that double strand, and in my description box I will have the brand listed in there, and if you have any particular brand that you use, I would love to know about it. So let me know in the comment section. So I have stenciled out my dog's name on my gross grain ribbon, and I used a color pencil, and so now I'm gonna outline that, or I'm gonna create a chain along that drawn out name. And so I'm working on the corner of the G. And so I stitched down the short end, and now I'm doing an adjacent stitch, and it's going to start off, I'm going to come up a stitch length away from that first stitch that's going to be adjacent to that, and then I'm going to go back down right into the one of the ends of that first stitch. Then I'm going to come back up right in the middle of that stitch that I just created, right between the two threads. You want to catch this because that's going to help tack down that's going to help tack down the stitches. And thereby I'm making me a chain. That's my first link, and I just made my second link. I'm going to continue in this manner. Okay, so at this point, we're going to finish that last stitch, and then we're going to go back underneath or down, and then we're going to start or continue where we first started at. So we're going to go right back to the beginning of the very first stitch we did, and then we're going to continue with the chains. Okay, so now I'm done with my chain. I came back up, and now I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to go back down outside of my chain. And this is how we're going to fill our G out. So I'm going to come up outside of the chain and then go across and back down. And I want to make these stitches close together because the idea is to make sure we don't see any of what's underneath once we're done. And be sure not to strain or pull too hard when you're making your stitches, because you don't want to distort your letter. Okay, so I have reached a point where I'm going to stop, and now I'm going to start working on the other end of my G. I haven't cut any threads and I haven't done any knotting or anything like that. I'm just continuing as I would have with any other stitch. And I'm going to fill it out like I did before on the other end. And then eventually I'm going to stop at a certain point. Oh, and a side note, you guys are probably wondering what is on my nail. It's actually ink. There was something that had exploded on me, and I did wash my hands, but it's slowly being removed. It's just like in the crevice, so it's kind of hard for me to get it out of there. So, at any rate, we're going to continue with our G, and we're just going to bring those two ends that we had embroidered together. And then after we've finished that, we will continue on our next section of our G. And you will see that this section is going to be a little different from the other two sections. Okay, so now I have met the two ends together, and my thread is short and I need to add more, so I decided it's a perfect time to just add some thread. So I'm gonna flip it over and create about 2 or 3 knots, which I do by making a loop, and then I'm going to twirl my needle around that thread twice and then pull through. And then once I've done it twice or 3 times, I'm going to add another thread and continue on to the next section. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the end that's on the inside of the G, and I'm going to fill like I did before. Just continue with the filling that I did before until I come to the part where I've reached the previous filling that I did. And that's when it's going to change a little bit once I come back up. Instead of going over the filling, I'm going to go underneath and through the fabric. I do not want to go through my filling, and I'm going to continue in this manner until I reach the end. Okay, that's it. You're done. All you have to do is flip it over and do a few knots to make sure you secure your work. And this is one of many videos I'm going to be doing on the alphabets, on the alphabet. So this is the first or the second letter I've done. Be sure to stay tuned for the other ones by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And if you found this useful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys, and take care.